So my plan for this morning was to wake up at 5 a.m. because I have to go to the DMV tomorrow really early. And because my license is going to expire on my birthday, which is in like 3 weeks. And I may be leaving the country. And I just like, I can't let that expire. So I gotta go really early tomorrow. And I was like, oh, I'll wake up really early this morning, like the day before. So to kind of like ease my way into it, you know what I mean? So it's like not as bad the next day. I don't know. That's where my logic is. Didn't happen. I woke up. I did wake up at 5 a.m. I was so warm. I was so warm and I was so comfortable in bed. And I like kind of sat there and I contemplated, like I could get up right now. But Ziva was right next to my head and she was so comfy and cuddly and she was purring. And I was just like, I'm gonna stay in bed. So I stayed in bed, kind of like in and out of sleep until about 8:30. So that didn't work. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I've been editing ever since. Oh, you can see the palm trees in the background. Oh, cute. The reflection. Look at this. My tomatoes are flowering. I don't know if you can see. No flowers. It won't focus on the flowers. It's so rude. But those are flowering. And then check this out, dude. I got my strawberries that have been flowering for like a while. But I finally have little like strawberry. Look at this. This is the biggest one that we got going on right now. I'm so excited. Oh. And then we have tiny little ones like kind of all throughout that are just like really small and trying to get there. Like these little guys. Got these little flowers. You know? We got like a bunch of little dudes just around that are, you know, nothing really, but got that one strawberry in the back that's growing. And then we have basil. We got a couple of basils. And then I have a lettuce. I don't know why I have a lettuce, to be honest with you. It's such a like waste. But after this, I'll probably replace it with something else. A couple of cilantros, and then I added another, this is another tomato, because this tomato plant took forever to grow. So I was like, I might as well start on another one right now. It smells so good. I don't know why I'm in the dark. I'm trying to upload a video right now. I'm starving. It's 10 o'clock and I need to eat something. And I was thinking about making the turkey thing that you just saw. This is a different day, by the way. I'm actually picking this up. Trying to upload a video, doing this. Only had one coffee. Usually have 2 coffees. I drink decaf, but usually have 2 coffees. And I'm like, should I make a coffee or should I just make breakfast? I think I'm gonna make breakfast. Let's make eggs. Okay, so the scrambled eggs with avocado, very basic breakfast, okay? Usually I would like, well, not usually, but sometimes I like to put, if I have pesto made, a little bit of pesto, you know what I mean? Honestly, that's mostly how I eat them. I just like stopped eating scrambled eggs for a while because I got sick of them. Then I really wanted something sweet, and I'm also trying to, something I'm trying to do, and I'll get into it, is just like round out my meals a little bit more so that I'm having like a protein, a fat, a carb. You know what I mean? Because I think often I'm very much a snacker, so I'll eat foods individually a lot, like throughout the day. I don't know if it's gonna work out for me. I'm also, I have a tendency to be an all or nothing kind of person. So if I can't get that to work, I don't want to discourage myself and then end up just like going down a really horrible path. That's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about right now. Oh, so anyway, I wanted something sweet. I was gonna make yams, but then my little pan for the yams wasn't clean. And I only had big pans. And I was like, I don't wanna have to use a whole pan, like a whole like baking sheet, giant baking sheet for this tiny little yam. So I had cooked up some quinoa yesterday, and I was gonna make like a little quinoa like cereal type bowl. So I put some dried cranberries and pistachios. It was the only nut that I had. Cashews, I feel, or pecans maybe would be way better. Toasted. And then I just heated up the quinoa, put a little bit of, actually I put too much maple syrup in there. And then I added milk because I was thinking like cereal. Honestly, I think I would like it without the milk. Like just the enough, like a little drizzle of maple syrup is perfect to make it like not dry, and also a little bit of sweet, a little bit of sweet, you know? Anyway, that's what I had after the eggs because I was still feeling hungry. And then I was still feeling hungry. This is the journey that I want to talk about currently. My lips are feeling very dry. One second. So I uploaded a video a few years ago at this point about how I quit refined sugar, okay? Now, that was a very controversial video for reasons that I understand now, reasons that I did not understand at the time. Really quickly, my relationship with sugar, this is if any of this is like something that is difficult for you to watch, click out of the video, okay? Do not watch. If you're on your own little situation, okay, and you don't want to hear about somebody else talking about this stuff, click away, okay? Okay, for instance, I just ate 3 of these Made Good crispy vanilla squares. Even though I didn't even really, I was feeling hungry. I wanted something sweet. Do I feel satisfied after these? Kinda, but not really, especially not while I was eating them. Not in a way that I felt bad about eating them. In a way that they weren't really satisfying me, you know? In a nutritional kind of way. In a, my body is hungry and eating this thing will make me feel satisfied. Does that make sense? We're gonna talk about it. So, my relationship, just a little background, my relationship with sugar has always been some kind of a coping mechanism, I guess. I mentioned in that video, which I haven't taken down because I just don't, there are certain things that I do stand by in that video that we're gonna discuss here, but it was missing a huge component, which is what I wanna discuss today. So I've been doing therapy for a while now, actually like a year. I think I started in October. I started last October with CBT, and then I started doing the OCD therapy, and throughout all of my therapy experiences, my relationship with sugar, my relationship with food, binge eating, restriction has been a theme throughout. To give you a little bit of background in case you never saw that other video, which probably a lot of you haven't, I didn't understand why I couldn't be trusted around sugar, specifically refined sugar. Like I never viewed fruit as bad, naturally occurring sugars, I never viewed them as bad. But when it came to things like candy, you know, candy bars, chocolate, anything like that, anything sweet, anything artificially sweetened. Do you call that artificial? You know what I mean, sweetened by humans, sweetened by us. I never felt like I had any control around it. I needed to eat all of it right now. I needed it. And there was also like an emotional tie where I would have moments where I was like, I need to be eating that right now. And like, it has to happen. Which of course is binge eating, especially when you're eating in large quantities, which I absolutely was. Junk food just in general. So, I went through a period of time, like maybe 5, no, how many years ago? I went through like a slow health journey where I started to pay attention more to like working out, what I was eating. Throughout my life, I have had very restrictive moments. I would say starting in college, probably. Like my diet was just ass for the majority of my life. Like I was a picky eater. My parents gave up on me. Not that they didn't have like, you know, healthy foods or that I didn't ever eat healthy foods, but I basically ran on junk food my whole childhood through high school. And then it wasn't until college where I went to college in my hometown. I lived at home. So I didn't have free reign in the cafeteria like most college students do. So I actually lost 10 pounds when I went to college because I was like trying to watch what I was eating, and I was like, you know, going for runs. And I was like, I had the mentality of like, okay, I need to go for a run like first thing in the morning, and then I'll go for a run like when I get back tonight from school or whatever. And I was like eating things like string cheese because I thought it was healthy, you know what I mean? Like that was my view. I started to have that view. I'm not going through like the entire history of my view on myself or my relationship with food because like it's extensive. But that's kind of where it started, was like college. And I went through periods where I would like lose probably like 10, 15 pounds and then gain it back, you know, that kind of thing. And then it wasn't until I was in a very, I was probably my most unhealthy mentally in, what year was that? 2022, maybe? Wait, 2020, no, 2023, 2024, in there. I was incredibly isolated for like a 4-5 month period. I was incredibly isolated. And I'm not gonna go into details about it, but it was the worst that I have ever felt. There were a lot of contributing factors, and I became extremely restrictive with my eating. It was, yeah, I was basically like, I was doing everything wrong as I was listening to people on the internet. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet. I don't know if you guys have picked up on that, but there is. I started listening to a lot of like, you know, I don't know if you would call it diet culture people, because a lot of it was like, that was kind of the time where like Fitspo was becoming a thing, you know, and you were seeing all these girls like super fit. And I guess it was a combination of like what they were saying, what they were doing, and also, you know, the influences of like how I grew up with like celebrity magazines and like diet culture and that kind of stuff. Became super restrictive, and it just so backfired. Not only was I preventing my body from getting the proper nutrients, the way that I was eating the foods that I was eating, prevented me from actually like sustaining myself nutritionally. And I remember having thoughts like, I'll try to sleep in as late as I possibly can and go to bed as early as I possibly can, because if I'm sleeping, I'm not eating. You know what I mean? Fuck. Saying that shit now is like so crazy. Yeah, and I did. I lost a lot of fat, but it didn't last long, and I gained it all back. And I have had that kind of that back and forth a few times. And I think it probably has never looked like physically alarming to anyone, because I've only ever really like fluctuated maybe like 10 pounds, you know? And it's never like super drastic or too fast. So I think that the people around me have never really like thought that there was anything going on. And my most recent like experience with this was about 6 to 7 years ago. I started to kind of like be influenced once again by people on the internet who were talking about like cutting out refined sugar. I knew that I ate it a lot, and that it probably wasn't the best for me, the amount that I was eating, but the way that I engaged with that was refined sugar, processed foods are bad. These are bad foods. And an apple or a bunch of celery, that's a stupid example because it has like no nutritional value, but like a yam or like fucking meat, I don't know, whatever, is nutritionally like beneficial to my body. So I started looking at food that way. Good, bad, you know? And it took a really long time, kind of like this back and forth, and I felt like I was rewiring my brain to crave the healthy sweets like yams, or having an apple, or eating berries, rather than like grabbing candy bars or whatever. And in the video that I uploaded, I talked about how I basically like detoxed myself from processed foods, and if I was craving sweets, I would just like binge fruit rather than like candy. And it felt like it made a huge difference in my life. Like, I talked about how my under eye circles became so much brighter. They stopped looking super dark. I don't know if you guys have noticed recently. In the past, I wonder how many videos it's been now. It's been at least 3 or 4 months, I'd say. My dark circles are dark. You can see them. They're dark, okay? I don't get the comments anymore from people on the internet who say like, oh my God, your dark circles have gone away. I don't get those comments. In fact, the comments that I get right now are you okay? Are you okay? You look really different. It's like, cool. During 2020, that's kind of like when I really started with the like, okay, if I'm craving fruit, if I'm craving sugar, I'm just gonna like eat, I'm just gonna like overdose on fruit. And I did that, and it took years, And I finally felt like I reached a place like a couple years ago now where I had a really good balance, and I was like working out like crazy, and I felt really good physically, like I looked really good, and my diet was really good. And there were even some times that I talked about in that video where like I was for the most part eating just like what I thought were healthy whole foods. And then like, you know, occasionally if we like went out to dinner or something and wanted to get ice cream, I would get like a little ice cream. So I felt like, oh, I'm like allowing myself to have the things that I want occasionally, you know? What I didn't realize was how my mindset was just absolutely on its way to sabotaging me. Because once I reached that place where I was working out, I was weight training 5 times a day, oh my God. Oh, I never got that crazy. 5 times a week. I was weight training 5 times a week. I would have like 2 upper body days, 2 lower body days, a full body day, and then I would do like yoga or go for walks like in and around those days. And I was obviously like, I had a very set diet that I was following. It wasn't a set diet that I was following, but it was very much like I'm routine oriented. I end up eating the same things over and over again. I was eating, just to give you an idea of like what I was eating, it was like scrambled eggs with avocado in the morning, and then I would usually have like berries after that, like a big bowl of berries. Sometimes I would have that in yogurt or whatever with like some nuts. Then like lunch was usually like some kind of big veggie thing, so like a salad or like a soup, like a veggie soup or something like that. And then, you know, if I was still hungry, which I usually was, like around that, I would usually like make some kind of a carb, like a potato or like a yam or whatever. And then like we usually cook for dinner. We make like steak, chicken, pork, salmon, and then there's usually some kind of like a roasted veggie on the side. And then like for my dessert, I've talked about my apple with ricotta. That has not changed. I still love it. And in fact, I've been adding chocolate chips to it. And then like, yeah, I don't know, other like healthy like snacks would be like pistachios, nuts, you know, that kind of stuff, like pumpkin seeds, more fruit, whatever. So overall looking at it, it's like, oh, okay, that sounds like a pretty like a well-rounded whole foods kind of diet. None of that is bad. None of it was, I wasn't restricting myself in that way. I wasn't like counting my calories, although I have done that throughout my life. I got to a point where I was like, I'm eating when I'm hungry, and I'm eating as much of this as I can because it's a good food. Do you know what I mean? Not eating as much as I can, but it's eating as much as I want or need to feel full. I didn't realize that in the back of my mind, I still had that association of good and bad foods. Now, I bring up the OCD treatment because so much of it for me is, it's very much an all or nothing kind of like relationship with what I didn't realize is everything in my life. For instance, if I wake up one day and the apartment is a mess and maybe I didn't sleep well and I don't know, I forgot to wash one of my brushes and, you know, it's already noon, or it's already like 12:30 and I was planning on starting to film at noon. I just won't film. I just won't film. I'll film tomorrow. I'll film tomorrow. That is very much like ingrained in me, and it's what I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how much that is ingrained in me in my OCD treatment, which obviously affects my relationship with food very much. And it's understandable why, you know, you have like a day where you're feeling overwhelmed, and then at the end of the day, or even in the middle of the day when you're feeling overwhelmed or overstimulated, and you're just like, I need to relax. I need a donut. I need like 3 donuts, and I need to eat them all right now. Do you know what I mean? It really comes down to that like all or nothing. It's like I can't just have a little bit of this. I've decided that I'm having it, which means that I have to have all of it, you know? Or I've decided I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And so, or I've decided it's going to make things too difficult, so I'm just gonna not do it, you know? And that's how it affects my whole fucking life. So even though I thought I wasn't restricting myself, I still had that negative view of foods, like having a Reese's cup or something, you know? And it was very much like I was keeping a grading scale of my days, and like today was a good day or it was a bad day, and now I need to really make up for that day. And if I ate a candy bar, then it was like, okay, like we've gone down a peg or whatever, or like now there's a mark against me. And I started to very much internalize that. And it reached the point where I think I was in like a 2-month period, to be honest with you, where I was like I felt really, really good about myself physically and the way that I was eating and all of that. Felt really good for like 2 months. But then the anxiety about I could so easily fall out of this. The anxiety of like once I've achieved it, the anxiety of losing it was like so incredibly overwhelming. Like I couldn't handle it. It was constant. And it was, I think in that time, I mean, my OCD symptoms have definitely like always been around. I've noticed them for the majority of my life, the most common starting, I think in high school, I'm pretty sure. But I started to notice them really amplifying during this time because it was like, I need control over this thing and I feel like I don't have control over it. So obviously, real easy to guess what happens next. Totally lost control, fell apart, couldn't work out, literally got to the point where I just like physically could not get myself to move my body. Like I was like, I can't do it. I've been doing this too much. And then just started feeling like completely horrible about myself. I think that ended up being kind of like the catalyst for starting therapy, even though like I had thought about doing it years before that. I just had put it off. Thankfully, I finally did it. So that has kind of been my relationship with food up until therapy. And when I was doing CBT, my therapist was kind of like introducing the idea of like the exposure therapy of just like having candy around, like just letting myself have it whenever I want, so that you can like remove the whole, oh my God, this is like a scarce thing and I can never have it. I came across a YouTuber, Rachel Wrigley, who I will link down below because I found her videos to be incredibly helpful because she speaks extremely frankly about binge eating. She was a binge eater, and now as her profession, she helps women with binge eating. I've not reached out to her. I've thought about it. But just in general, she has like so many videos on YouTube just talking about her experience, talking about like, I don't know, literally just like anything, just information about her experience with binge eating, how she was able to get out of that, and like tips and tricks. A lot of it kind of coincides with like my OCD treatment, in fact, which has been really helpful. So I would just, if you are interested, I would check out her videos. She's amazing. She's also super adorable and British, and you know, I'm just like a sucker for that accent. So I was very aware of the concept after watching her videos and talking to my therapist of like allowing yourself to have something so that it doesn't feel like it's a scarcity. So I did that, and I had jars of M&Ms, jars of Starbursts, and I ate those motherfuckers real fast, and I'm talking big jars. I went through them real fast. In fact, I think I was like binging those foods like crazy for like an entire month. Like I felt horrible. Not only about it, which I was trying to work on, obviously, but also just like physically, I felt horrible. But I realized that there was like this huge mental roadblock that I needed to get over. So it sucked for sure. And I think I've gained, I don't weigh myself. I haven't weighed myself in years, but if I had to guess, I would say that I've gained like 10 pounds just since that, you know, in the last like 3 months probably. Just from like eating sugar, allowing myself to eat sugar. That's also why my dark circles are so dark, because I am allowing myself to eat these foods. And because of, I've had this like negative view of them and this like scarcity complex around them, which ends up leading to the binging. I just completely forgot. I literally forgot what I was saying mid-sentence. There was like a well thought out point. I was like a couple steps ahead and I was trying to get there, and then it just like went away. It doesn't matter. Basically, I'm eating sugar. I'm eating sugar. I'm like allowing myself to have sugar. I'm eating pasta when I want to have pasta. I was eating bread for a while, but it was starting to make me feel like shit. Anyway, I'm allowing myself to have these foods currently. And I am trying not to put pressure on myself to remove the foods or focus more on healthy foods in a negative, positive kind of way. I don't know if that makes any sense. Basically, the place that I'm in right now is I was binging. I was eating a lot of sugar, letting myself eat the sugar, letting myself eat the pasta, letting myself eat the bread. And I feel like ass, bro. Like I am aware that I needed to shift the way that I thought about these things mentally. That's not what I wanted to say. My perspective. I wanted to shift my perspective. And now I feel like I've shifted my perspective. I understand that like if I want one of these things, I can just have it. I can just have it. Nothing's gonna happen. I can just have it. It doesn't mean that I need to eat everything all at once. And I'm still trying to like practice that at this point in time. My battery's gonna die. We'll pick this up a little later. Goddamn. Okay, this is very weird. I'm listening to NSYNC. Ridiculous. Okay. I just started, I started taking off my jewelry, and then I realized that I didn't wrap up what I was saying before. I just filmed this goth makeup look, which I originally went into this. I was like, last night I was planning it. I was like, I want to do like ethereal goth. Like I want it to be kind of soft and like pretty, but still goth, you know? And I think I just ended up looking like goth glam, you know? I don't know what I'm gonna call it now. But I still think it's dope. Really, really struggling with, these are just half lashes. Really struggling with the lash applications, man. You gotta, if you stop, you gotta start doing it like regularly. Like I keep like dipping my toes in and then forgetting and just, I don't know. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, basically, I know I was rudely cut off by my camera battery dying earlier. I just want to wrap this up basically by saying that when I made that video, the last video that I made about quitting processed sugar, I was very unaware of the negative versus like the bad food versus good food mindset, I guess, and how, I hate to use the word toxic because I feel like it can be really overused, but how toxic it is, and how prevalent it is, and how damaging it can be to perpetuate that kind of mindset, whether unintentionally or not. Because I would say that it was very unintentional if it felt at all like in that first video I was doing that. I was just, it didn't make sense to me. I wasn't in that headspace. And it's been very interesting while I've been doing therapy to see like not only how like something so obvious, something feels so obvious once you are aware of it, right? But like before you become aware of it, it's nowhere. And even if you have a sense of it, you know, like sometimes like denial is a really strong thing. And this is just kind of me rambling, but you can know something and your brain just does this like crazy mental gymnastics to like push it so far away from you so as not to hurt you, you know? So even if you have certain doubts or whatever, you might be generally like aware of it. It might be like in your vicinity somewhere, but it's so, the mind is fascinating. The mind is fascinating. And not to mention that like once you become aware of something, that's like the first step, you know? And once you become aware of something, for the most part, you can't really become unaware of it, you know? Like, you have this knowledge now, and unless you intentionally, I think, like try to push it out, it's there. I was able for a very long time to rationalize them. If I